Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Di, and today I'm bringing you my December wrap-up. So, I am doing a traditional wrap-up for December. I had intended on just pulling the clips of my reviews from my Vlogmas videos, but I think that would be really messy, and to be honest, I think I might have deleted some of the footage. I didn't read too much in December, and so I thought it might be not too bad to just sit down and try to do a traditional wrap-up. So, yeah, let's get into it. I did start the month off with a manga advent calendar project where I was pulling tags that had manga titles in them, titles that I've had in my collection for a while and have at least 3 volumes of and haven't read yet. And so I started off the month pretty well. The first 2 volumes that I read were of Accomplishments of the Duke's Daughter. This one is by Rhea, art by Suki Umemiya, character design by Haruki Futaba. This one's published by 7 Seas and is rated teen. So this story follows a woman who really enjoys playing otome games or visual novels, and she, one day after work, gets hit by a car and passes out. And then when she wakes up, she is at a pivotal point in her favorite otome game. But she's not the love interest. She's actually the villain in this story. And so she is being accused of doing something heinous to the love interest. And so knowing what she knows of the game, she plays it so that she doesn't get a bad outcome for her character, and ends up going home, and her father makes her the lord of their fiefdom. And so she goes off to their fiefdom and starts making small changes here and there. And the story basically just follows her building up their fiefdom, introducing things from the real world, like chocolates and shampoos and things like that, fragrance, and just seeing her kind of elevate their fiefdom, making it more modern. And yeah, I enjoyed this one. You don't get a lot of the fact that she is in the otome game. Like, it's mentioned once or twice after she's dropped into the game. But other than that, it's pretty much just like any other story where you're following a character doing things. And so we watch her introduce chocolate, or, observing things in the fiefdom, seeing what things need to be tended to, how to integrate certain things that we have in our society in the fiefdom. And it's a lot of stuff on economy, which that part I'm not enjoying, but I do enjoy seeing the conversations she's having. She's got an entourage of people that are close to her people that she has helping her with these tasks, and I enjoy seeing that part much more. Right now, she's really focused on building up the fiefdom. We're getting some kind of pushback from some people. We're getting some competitors, people wanting to sell the same types of products. And yeah, so it's interesting. I'm kind of hoping we're going to do away with a lot of that kind of more modernization tactics and things, and really get into more story about her and her relationships with the people in her entourage, and her relationship with her brother, and more of her family stuff, because there is a little bit of a rift in her family between her and her brother. And yeah, I'm definitely interested to continue. I do have a few more volumes of this one in my collection. At the back of each of these manga volumes, there is a short light novel It's like a small short story, but it's not manga. It's actual like novel pages. And so I really enjoyed those as well. They aren't like, they follow our characters in these volumes, but they're not in the storyline. They're like little side stories. And I really enjoyed those as well. I had noticed when I was at Barnes & Noble for my manga club meeting that there are actually light novels of this series, and so I'm kind of wondering if I should switch over to the light novel or keep going with the manga. Like I said, I do have a few more volumes of this in manga format in my collection, so I do want to read those, but I'm not sure if I want to switch over to the light novel after that, if I'm still interested in this story by that time. So yes, I've enjoyed these so far. I'm looking forward to getting a couple more volumes under my belt and seeing where this story goes after she's kind of built up her fiefdom. The next couple volumes that came out of my manga advent calendar were volumes 1 and 2 of The Daily Lives of High School Boys by Yasunobu Yamauchi. This one's published by Vertical and is rated ages 13 plus, which is teen. These are basically just little short vignettes following this group of teenage boys and the things they get up to during the day. They do a lot of stupid stuff. I'll tell you that right now. I had seen a meme of the anime that was pulled from the anime of this manga, which I thought was super hilarious. And so I had fully expected that this series was going to be full of laughs. And I don't know if it's just how I was feeling in December or I just wasn't getting it, but the jokes that were being made just weren't hitting at all. Like, I didn't find them funny. That scene from the meme is in volume 1, and when I read it, it wasn't as funny as when I saw the meme. So I was a bit disappointed in these 2 volumes. And the boys aren't the only ones that are doing dumb things in these volumes. The girls in these volumes do dumb things as well. And the girls are very violent. The boys are very violent. They beat each other up. The girls beat the guys up. There's a lot of bloody noses and things like that. And like I said, a lot of dumb stuff happens in these 2 volumes. And so, yeah, it wasn't what I was expecting. I do have this entire series, but it is one that I had mainly picked up for my daughter. And so she hasn't read these volumes yet. I'm interested to see what she thinks. She, of course, is of an age where I think most of these things would still be funnier. But yeah, maybe I'm just too old. I don't know, but I didn't enjoy these as much as I thought I was going to. Nonetheless, I did like them, so yeah, just not as funny as I thought they were going to be. Next up, I read the Book One Cozy's Club selection for December, which was Mrs. Claus and the Santaland Slayings by Liz Ireland. This is the first book in the Mrs. Claus series. I do have 2 types of videos up on my channel for this book. I have a chapter-by-chapter playlist where I broke down the book into 4 chapter sections, and I gave you my thoughts on them as I read through those chapters. They are audio only reading vlogs, so if you're interested in my spoilery thoughts or would like to read along with me, that would be the way to do it. And then I also have my series First Impressions video, which is my unspoilery thoughts on this book. So if you're interested in seeing what I thought but aren't interested in the spoilers, that would be the way to go. So I've linked both of those down in the description box below in case you're interested. I forgot to mention that this one is about the murder of an elf, and the person who was seen arguing with him last was Santa. So Santa is the main suspect in his death. Santa is actually the new Santa. He has just inherited that title, so a lot of people kind of are against him. He is also being accused of a couple other things, and it is up to the new Mrs. Claus to clear her husband's name and pretty much save Christmas. So that's what that one's about. Then we had our selections for my manga club meeting, and so I do have a separate video on these selections as well. The first of the volumes that I read was Laughing Under the Clouds by Karakara Kemuri Volume 1. This one is published by Tokyo Pop Rated Teen. This one follows the story of 3 brothers of the Kumo clan who are charged with transporting criminals to the prison that is in the middle of a lake the prison's called Gokumonjo. And there's a little bit of a mystery going on as to what actually is going on at that prison. But in this volume, we are following them trying to help collect escaped prisoners. And then the second half of this volume is a prequel story that follows the brothers' ancestors and an Orochi curse. And so, yeah, we get a little bit of the story that I feel like will be continuing in the next volumes, and then we get a prequel story, which I'm presuming is going to fill in some things that happen later in this series. So that's that one. And then we also read volume 1 of the case study of Vanitas by Jun Mochizuki. This one's published by Yam Press, rated older teen. In this one, we follow a vampire named Noe, who is tasked with finding the book of Vanitas. He finds it with a man named Vanitas and gets roped into helping him cure vampires who have gone crazy by using the book of Vanitas. And so I do talk about both of these volumes in my Monochrome Manga Club series First Impressions video, so you'll find that linked down in the description box below in case you're interested in hearing my thoughts on those volumes. We also read the final 2 volumes in Parasite, so volumes 7 and 8. Parasite is by Hitoshi Iwaaki. This is the story about these parasites who invade human bodies, and we're basically following one particular parasite who wasn't able to inhabit his host completely and has been cohabitating with his host. And so they are kind of staying under the radar, because if they come across other parasites who have been able to fully inhabit their hosts, they're kind of looked at as failures, and so those parasites want to kill the failure parasites. And so there's a bit of that. There's a bit of like government stuff going on because humans are turning up dead because the parasites eat humans. That's their like nourishment. And yeah, there's a bunch of other things that go on, and we're basically following this one main character and his parasite. And so I enjoyed this series more than I thought I was going to. It wasn't a series that I had ever planned on reading. I did end up purchasing it as part of a bundle, a humble bundle that I had purchased for another manga series. And so this one was just kind of one of those freebie ones that was thrown in that I was just like, I'm probably never going to read it. And then somebody in the manga club wanted to read it for our series read, and so the other people in the club got interested, and so it's been a surprise. I enjoyed this one up until the last 2 volumes. And so the last 2 volumes kind of made the series veer away from what it was, where we were following our main character and his parasite trying to evade these other parasites, and it turned it more into the mangaka's thoughts on humans and what humans are doing to the environment, veering away from that whole story about these parasites who invaded humans and are trying to take over the world. And I enjoyed that story about the parasites invading humans and trying to take over the world. I didn't enjoy the overwhelming message that was coming through in the last 2 volumes of the series about the author's thoughts on what humans are doing to the world and humans in general. And so, yeah, that was kind of a downer. I didn't enjoy it as much. The ending didn't make sense to me. A lot of things weren't tied up as far as things that were brought up in the series, so that was unfortunate as well. So, although I was surprised and enjoyed the first 6 volumes of this series, the last 2 volumes put a downer on this series for me, and so I still enjoyed it, but not as much as I would have if this story had gone in another direction and had been tied up nicely. So then I was able to read another volume of manga from my manga advent calendar, and that was Transformers, the manga, volume 1, story by Masumi Kaneda, art by Bon Magami. This one is published by Viz and is rated all ages. So this is basically just little manga comics about the Transformers, the Autobots, fighting the Decepticons. We get introduced to an elementary school student named Kenji, and he becomes an honorary Autobot and notifies Optimus Prime when the Decepticons are wreaking havoc in Japan, because in this volume, the Autobots are not only in Japan, but they are also in America. And so Kenji was given a device in order to be able to contact Optimus Prime when things are going bad because of the Decepticons. And so we get little episodes, basically. It's kind of like reading episodes of the cartoon, and I enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. Transformers is something that I watched growing up. I do have a little brother. He's not so little anymore, but we grew up together. We watched Transformers together. He had a collection of the toys. I had an Optimus Prime, and we'd play together, and yeah, I really enjoyed this. I will say that there are 3 volumes in this bind-up. The first volume is basically where we meet Kenji, and we have episodes with him. After that, though, those volumes are definitely things that happen after the events of the Transformers movie. So if you're not familiar with the Transformers movie, you might be confused by some of the things that happen in the second and third volumes in this bind-up. I am very familiar with the Transformers animated movie. I should say the animated movie. If you're not familiar with the Transformers animated movie, you might be confused with some of the things that happen in volumes 2 and 3. But I'm very familiar with that, and so I wasn't confused at all. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the other 2 volumes I have in my collection. And yeah, it looks just like the cartoon. And so it brought back a lot of memories. And I'm looking forward to the other 2 that I have, like I said. So then I read a Book One Cozy's Club bonus selection, and that was Slashing Through the Snow, the 3rd book in the Christmas Tree Farm mystery series by Jacqueline Frost. This series is one that we started with Book One Cozy's Club as one of the first in the series selections for December. And it's had a 2-year hiatus, so it's been a while since I've connected with these characters, but in this one, we are following Holly, who is our main character, and at the end of the 2nd installment, Holly's family expands their business, which is a Christmas tree farm, and purchases an inn. So in this 3rd volume, we are seeing the inn in action for the first time, kind of. They've just opened. Holly's learning the ins and outs of running the inn while her family still runs the Christmas tree farm. Her mom makes amazing baked goods, and one of the guests at the inn ends up being found murdered, hit in the head with a nutcracker. That nutcracker was something that a family friend had given Holly just earlier that day. So now the family friend is being accused of being the one to have murdered this guest. And so Holly is trying desperately to try to clear the family friend's name and save the reputation of the inn as well. I didn't enjoy this one as much as the other two volumes. In fact, this was my least enjoyed, the volume that I enjoyed the least of the three. Holly, to me, in this installment, was very whiny. She was asking for things that are just not reasonable. She wasn't being reasonable. She ended up lying quite a bit. And I felt like she was throwing tantrums a lot when people were telling her to stop investigating, to please stop investigating, to please be safe. When she is talking to her mother, her mother's telling her, please be safe. And she wasn't as whiny with her mother, but she was definitely whining with her boyfriend, who happens to be the sheriff. And I'm sorry if that's a spoiler, but I think if you read Cozy Mysteries, you kind of know that's a thing. Lots of our main amateur sleuths get involved with the sheriff. And so I don't think it's a spoiler, but if you feel like that's a spoiler, I'm sorry. But she got really terse with him when he would tell her, back off, please. I'm a good cop. I promise I'll find out what happened. She lies to him, telling him that she's not investigating. I mean, obviously, with amateur sleuths, that's what they're going to do. But there are ways to do it where you're not irritating. And I found Holly to be very, very irritating in this one. The thing that happens at the very, very end of this book was very predictable to me. I'm using a lot of berries. It was so predictable that I was just like, why can't you see? You can't figure this out? Like, really? But I was very surprised by the reveal of the killer. I will tell you that I knew right off the bat, once certain things came together, who the killer was. But I was surprised by the revelation when I realized who the killer was, which was before it was actually revealed. This is why I don't sit down and do wrap-ups. But, yeah, not my favorite. I will tell you, though, that even with everything I disliked about this installment, I will read another one if another one is published, because I do enjoy seeing Holly's mom, reading about her making all of these delicious things. Her family dynamic between, her talking to her mom and her talking to her dad and their Christmas tree farm, seeing those operations. Now with this new inn, I wish there was more about that whole business aspect. I really enjoy the scenes where it's the family running the business. Reading about the reindeer games that they hold for the tourists every year. And, judging those contests. I enjoy those aspects. In this one, for me, those were the things that kind of picked up this story for me. I didn't enjoy the mystery part as much, or the sleuthing. But yeah, it won't put me off of reading another one in the series, because I enjoy her family. I enjoy the family things. I enjoy the business. And so, yeah. I'm glad that I'm caught up with another series, though, and I was able to get at least one of the Book One Cozies Club bonus selections in during the month. I do intend on reading the other two, but I just wasn't able to do it in December because my reading just tanked. But I was able to finish one other thing before the month ended, and that was Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead. This is the first book in the Vampire Academy series. This is a reread for me. It came up as a prompt in my Rotating Decks TBR game. It is a series that I've wanted to continue for a while, but because it's been so long since I read the first volume, I decided that I needed to restart the series, and so that's what I did. This story follows a guardian, and her friend is a mortal vampire princess. And so at the beginning of this story, we find them on the run. They have run away from the academy. And shortly after the beginning of the book, where we're introduced to our characters, they are found and dragged back to the academy. So our main character is a guardian, like I said. She is a half human, half vampire. And so there's a lot of kind of information in this volume about vampires. I think that's how they're pronounced, the half human, half vampires, and their relationships with the Moroi, who are the mortal vampires, and then you have the Strigoi, who are the immortal vampires, and in this series, they're bad. They've killed, and that's why they are immortal vampires. And so, yeah, this one basically just follows our two characters, the Guardian and the Princess, back at the academy. The Guardian is in deep trouble, to say the least, for basically putting her charge in danger, and so she is being reprimanded by having strict parameters at the school and a strict schedule, and she's not allowed to do things. And yeah, it just kind of follows their life back at the academy, repercussions of running away from the academy, and some social issues going on with the fact that they did run away and things like that, and the dangers that our guardian put our princess in and things like that. And some other things happen, but I feel like if I mention that, it'll be a spoiler. But yeah, so there's a lot of revelations in this one in regards to our characters, our two main characters, I feel. And so I'm looking forward to continuing with this series and seeing where we go after the events at the end of this volume, and finally getting to the next volume and continuing the series, especially with the fact that I think we're getting another adaptation, a series. And so, yes, I enjoyed this one. We'll definitely be continuing. And that is everything that I read in the month of December. I think that's 12 things that I read. Not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. Not everything I had intended on reading, but like I said, my reading tanked. Reading just wasn't something I wanted to do in the month of December. So considering that and the amount of things that I did end up reading, I think I didn't do too bad of a job. I'm going to say we ended the year on a high note. Yes. I definitely had a great time with most of my reads. Finished another series in the month of December, which was great. But I started a few more, so that's not too great. But yeah, let me know down in the comments below if you've read any of the things that I mentioned in this video and what you thought of them, but please no spoilers. And if nothing else, if you would just like to let me know that you were here, if you could leave me a car emoji down in the comments below, that would be greatly appreciated and would really help me out, and that will do it for me today. So I hope you're all doing great. I hope you're all safe and healthy. And until next time, take care and smile always. Bye!